All right, made it to Friday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We'll give you some news out of the nation's capital, where House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan is moving to expunge President Trump's 2019 impeachment, because we now know this whole thing was made up by somebody who wasn't even in the room. It was all hearsay. Also, Barack Obama is back, I guess, shamelessly now, calling for voters to back the Democrats' congressional gerrymandering ploy. But isn't this coming from the same dude who called to end the practice of drawing our congressional districts so that politicians can pick their voters? Yeah, but he never seen a flip-flop he didn't like. And Spirit Airlines, this is good, is seeking emergency funds over fuel prices in order to stave off liquidation. Turns out that charging like $8 for a flight where the clientele strip and fights break out may not be the most profitable venture. Whatever. But first, when in doubt, take away any means for the government to monitor, restrict, or intervene in any part of your life whatsoever. Let's do this. My baseline: leave me alone, don't spy on me, get out of my phone, get out of my text messages, my bedroom, my wallet, everything. The government can't do whatever they want, and every time they step out of bounds, they should be buried under the jail. But that never happens, especially not with Pam Bondi, which is why I'm always in favor of not giving the government like an inch more capability to do anything against Americans, especially when they hide it in the name of national security. You heard us earlier talking about the FISA courts, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act authorization, with a bunch of folks the other night. But I am still vehemently against this because it is massively unaccountable. Thankfully, it failed a full vote for reauthorization at like 2 a.m. this morning, but it did get extended for more debate until April 30th.
Voted down the rule on FISA, which is the secret courts. It was like dark blackout here. We tried to negotiate a 6-week, which I was a little leery of. And then the dadgum bill comes out, and it's a 3-year bill.
6 weeks to 3 years. They're just going to randomly. Probably they just voted to authorize this extension so they could all go home at 2 in the morning. I don't understand why this is even remotely up for a debate with any Republican ever. This court spied on Donald Trump. It spied on his campaign staff and his entire campaign, which is probably why Democrats want this, because they will use it again against us, and Republicans will never use it against them. How many dozen Republican senators and congressmen were spied on? That wasn't FISA, that was the Arctic Frost, which was another Democrat-concocted witch hunt against Republicans to unconstitutionally get their phone records. But it's all the same thing. Another government operation under the guise of national security. Don't even get me started on the Patriot Act. Senators and congressmen are being spied on with no due process, with no transparency, no oversight, and no regard for their constitutional rights. So why would we authorize another venue for that? I don't generally ask people to call their congressman now, but now would be a hell of a time to start doing it. We're talking about specifically Section 702 as the most controversial part here. It was created in 2008 as a means to collect foreign intelligence. Foreign! This is how it goes, though. Let's say you or I talk to someone overseas, and that person happens to be of interest to the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, any 3-letter agency. Under Section 702, you or me are now being spied on in America as a citizen without a warrant. And whatever you do now, whatever you say on that phone call, is admitted into some government record in a big black box somewhere inside of a mountain by a court that is totally secret, that basically rubber stamps whatever the government wants from its inception in 1979 to 2012, because it's secret, so we don't have much data after 2012. But until then, during that time, 33,900 and change requests were made to the FISA courts. You know how many were denied? 11. In total. That's a 99.97% approval. They ain't slowing down either, guys. It's only gotten worse since 2012. You know how many times American citizens, though, have been caught up in those requests? Not warrants, they're requests. Tons. Which brings me to our Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall, not maybe, not should, shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. This entire court is rubber stamping the accidental capture on American citizens. It doesn't matter why, it only matters that it's happening. Constitutional rights are being violated, even by accident. And from where I sit, any government program that, whether by accident or not, violates the Constitution, it should be disbanded immediately, and the people responsible for it should go to jail. Period. Full stop. Otherwise, we don't even have a Constitution. You can take this and you can light it on fire. The Constitution is there to stop the government from doing things like this. And it's so important that our founding fathers also snuck a little clause in there, I think it's the Second Amendment, that made sure that we could keep our guns to enforce it. Nowhere in there does it say, oh, well, unless it's really important or super sneaky. I hate when the government does this. They declare an emergency to just go around the Constitution. COVID, perfect example of this. Okay, it's not just the courts. It's literally everything the government does. The government said, well, you can't go to church, you can't go to the beach, you can't be in a group, you can't even have more than X number of people over to your own home. Perhaps you missed the people, like the First Amendment. It's the first one, right to peaceably assemble. Most government officials, and like this was current and former government people, felt like that they could just disregard that.
There is a virus here. It kills people, and the only way we prevent it is to get vaccinated, to wear masks, to do social distancing, washing your hands all the time, and not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
I don't think I will. I think I'll keep my freedom, and you can come talk to the front of my gun about it. When it was, like, when all this stuff was challenged, our rights won, like almost every time. But we were deprived of them in the meantime, sometimes for like years. And no government official went to jail. Nothing happened. No one was compensated for the loss of their rights. It was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I'm sitting here thinking, what would happen, just spitballing here, if I just randomly went down and held a bunch of government employees hostage at gunpoint for 3 months and only let them out if they took a shot that they didn't want to get? I would go to jail, and I should go to jail for that. But that's exactly what the government did to us. But the government, the state, local, federal, all said, oh, well, it was because of an emergency. Just like this FISA court. It's always an emergency or super sneaky or national security. Show me where in the Constitution, in this document, where it says, in case of a made-up emergency or the flu, or we really want to listen to a foreign person, and listen, and even if it's an American, then we can suspend all your rights. No, nowhere in this does it say that. Nowhere. This is what happened to Mike Flynn. Folks, if you don't think this is happening or has happened or will continue to happen, I can't help you. The FISA courts approved surveillance of Sergei Kislyak, who was the Russian ambassador, okay? Might be a bad dude. We probably want to look into him, but the inadvertent consequences is it destroyed someone. A month before Trump took office, in December of 2016, Mike Flynn, the incoming national security advisor, was taped having a conversation with that guy about Trump's inclination to address certain sanctions on Russia. Now, remember, in the whole 702 authorization, it says by law it required that American citizens to be masked and is supposed to be inadmissible. But instead, the FBI, they took that recording of Mike Flynn, they listened to it, and then went and asked him questions about it, and then they charged him with lying to them about what he said in the recording with the Russian ambassador that they weren't supposed to have, in a conversation that they were constitutionally completely barred from using in the first place. And Joe Biden, by the way, wanted to charge him with the Logan Act over that same conversation. Nobody gets ever charged with the Logan Act. They weren't even supposed to have that. So there should have never been any even premise for this. Joe Biden shouldn't even known that existed. By the way, the FBI agent who interviewed Mike Flynn initially didn't even think Flynn was lying to him in that interview. They concocted that one out of thin air, too. All that was patently illegal. Unmasking Flynn, using it against him in an interview, and the basis for charging him in the first place. All illegal. So no, I don't trust, even with these new guardrails that they're apparently supposed to put in the FISA courts in Section 702, I don't think this will work within the bounds of my rights. Mike Flynn lost his home to pay legal fees. He lost his career in the White House. And what happened? Like, what happened to the FISA court? What happened to the judge, the FBI agents who unmasked him, the prosecutors that charged him? Nothing happened. Nothing. And it will happen again. I'm not willing to wager my home and my career on whether or not the government might play by the rules. I just don't trust them at all. Did you know the first year of Biden's presidency, by the way, too, American names were searched in a database that aren't supposed to have names of Americans 3.5 million times by the FBI agents in the FISA system. It should be zero. That's 3.4 million constitutional violations in 1 year. And what did they do with those searches? We don't even know because it's secret. They don't tell us. They hide behind national. And to people who say this is like, oh, this is of great national security. Even to President Donald Trump right now, who said he's okay with losing some of his rights for the security that it provides. I would refer him and all the rest of those people to our founding father, Ben Franklin. And this quote is why I named my son Ben in the first place. He said, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. The government will always bend the law because there are never any consequences, well, except for Republicans sometimes. This is why I have been screaming at the DOJ to arrest people, because this will happen again. Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, sir, I'm hoping this doesn't go forward.
Yeah, great to be with you, Carl. Look, FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, what we're told every single time it gets close to expiring is if we let it go dark, stadiums are going to be attacked, huge crowds, there's going to be a terrorist event like 9/11. And we are also told that if FISA existed before 9/11, that 9/11 wouldn't happen. And so, look, for me, I don't care what we do with foreigners, how much we spy on them to keep Americans and America safe. I don't care.
Right.
But when it comes to Americans, then we have our constitutional rights, and we are poised to reauthorize this thing. Of course, they waited till the last minute. We told them we had problems with it. We told them we wanted protections. We told them we wanted transparency. I said on the Intelligence Committee, I have asked the FBI numerous times, give me the names of who violated FISA during the last 8 years and tell me what the accountability was. Was anybody fired? Did anybody get prosecuted? Has anybody gone to jail? I haven't gotten any answer yet. So we worked through the night before. We worked up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning last night. They were literally handing out text as we went to the floor. That's no way to run a railroad. And, look, I want to keep our country safe, but I have a duty. I didn't put my hand on FISA and raise my right hand and pledge, allegiance to FISA. I have an oath to the Constitution to uphold the rights of American citizens. And so there's got to be a way to do this. And they didn't come up with it last night. So unfortunately, I got to be a no.
Yes, and I hope you hold the line on that, sir, especially as a military guy. Tulsi Gabbard is against this. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, used to be vehemently against this, and now he's for it somehow.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's what happens, especially with these intelligence agencies. If you notice during confirmation, all the folks that were going to the three-letter agencies that were prior, was skeptical about FISA and the lack of limitations and transparency, suddenly in their confirmation here, they all said, oh, FISA is essential and it needs no changes, it ought to be reauthorized immediately. The power is absolute. And, they're never going to come tell us, hey, you know what? We have a little too much power, so why don't you take this back, right? Power never concedes anything without a demand. That comes from Frederick Douglass, and he knew that. So, look, I think there's a way to do this, but we can't be rushed into it, and we can't violate American civil rights.
My man. Congressman, we appreciate it very much. Have a great weekend, sir.
You too. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Newsmax legal analyst Jay Town. All right, Jay, you and I had a pretty fiery debate with Christina Bobb, and where do you stand on this now? Has your opinion changed at all?
Folks at home, my friend Carl has me on knowing how I feel about 702. And now after a 10-minute read in a congressman,
my
he
show,
comes
my
to
rules,
me.
baby.
I love it. I love it. I love you too. So no, my opinion hasn't changed. Now you mentioned a few things that we didn't get to talk about the other night as you and Christina were clobbering me, right? So I want to mention just a couple of things. You mentioned the Fourth Amendment. Mm-hmm. You mentioned pen registers. I'll throw in wiretaps as well.
Sure.
Wiretaps, search warrants, and the pen registers, they've all been abused. You and I can come up with examples just in the last 10 years, very high profile examples. It doesn't mean that we are going to disband the search warrant or the wiretap or even grand jury subpoenas of pen registers. Mm-hmm. We're not going to get away with it or get rid of it because it was abused. I can see everything you said about
I'll let you go on, Jay. But like, this is my reservation. I'm a hard no because there's no consequences for it being abused. And if the next person is me, I might lose my house to pay a lawyer in something that I should never have been unmasked on in the first place.
So there are no consequences for the FISC, the FISA court, right? So Judge Boasberg was the one who, was a big part of this. So when he was in charge of the FISC, Arctic Frost, that's correct, and General Flynn. But now, after the 2024 reauthorization 2 years ago, that comes up every 2 years, there is a criminal penalty if someone intentionally goes around the standards of the FBI and the standards of FISA and queries a U.S. person and pulls from that NSA database any of those communications with the people that we are spying on overseas.
But in 2024, there were 4,000 queries in that thing that should never have happened. And there's nobody in jail.
Well, did the report say they never should have happened, or the report just say those queries existed in 2024? And the law wasn't passed until April of 24 and didn't go in effect until July. So I'll look into that for you, I promise. But my greater point here is, and I looked up the Ben Franklin quote before the show, but I do believe that 9/11 wouldn't have happened, it won't happen in 2026 if we have FISA. I don't think it's temporary safety. I don't think we're giving up essential liberty for temporary safety. I think this is national security. I don't think that's just a line. I absolutely know. I've had a security clearance my entire adult life to include now, and I can tell you it is very important that we are able, remember, it includes cartels now. It's not just terrorists and foreign criminals and espionage against the United States. It's also human trafficking and narco trafficking, which is terroristic behavior.
Look, Jay, you and I are going to just disagree on this one until the cows come home. I just want less. I think government should be like 3 people tops. But anyway, we appreciate you joining us again.
You and me and one other guy. That's right.
All right, coming up, Gavin Newsom. You're not in charge of the FISA courts, by the way. Gavin Newsom exposed by the New York Times, of all places. What did the grifting governor do this time? We're going to go into that later. You're going to laugh so hard at that one. But first, back to business. President Trump announcing today that Iran has officially opened up the Strait of Hormuz, and Americans are already feeling the relief here. Oil down 10-12% in a day. Boom.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America, by Americans, with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
As Americans, we're fair and logical. 83% of us favor requiring a photo ID to vote. In fact, most of the civilized world requires it, but not us. We need to be able to trust that only eligible Americans are casting ballots. Democrats oppose voter ID for no coherent reason. Republicans favor it but haven't acted. What are they waiting for? Call your United States senators and tell them to pass the Save America Act today.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
Did you hear about SHIELD, that test for colon cancer?
No, what?
It's just a blood test.
No.
Exactly.
SHIELD is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer.
Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
It looks like they kind of figured out what they're doing. Turns out when the president tells you to open the effing strait, they do it. Trump posting to Truth Social this morning, Iran has just announced that the strait is fully open and ready for full passage. Thank you. He also said Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again and will no longer be using as a weapon against the rest of the world. President Donald J. Trump. Look, folks, I wagered my reputation with you on this. I said, give him some time. Give him like 2 more weeks. And a week later, oil prices down 12%, $80 a barrel. Iran has committed no more nuclear stuff, no more nuclear dust and enrichment and all that stuff. Within hours, CNBC reporting that the Dow soared 900 points, S&P 500, 7,100. That's a record. Weird. It's almost like we told you that we got you on this one. John Jordan, Republican strategist and former naval intelligence officer, and Dr. Peter Earle, director of economics at the American Institute for Economic Research. All right, John, it's almost like Trump kind of knew what he was doing.
Yeah, actually, this is all clearly thought through. The focus has always been what's inside of Iran, the socioeconomic pressures, choking off the oil and petrochemical exports from Iran, take 60% out of their budget. They can't pay their security services, the Republican Guard, and their main army, the Artesh, which is another issue entirely. More to the point, they're going to have 12 million unemployed people inside of Iran. And they're not going to be able to pay them. And that is a recipe for serious upheaval inside of Iran, especially since they just had massive protests. And that's where the leverage lay.
Yeah. Peter, the other thing, too, we are exporting millions more barrels of oil than ever before. We've become an oil hub. And some of those oil hubs, with people coming over here to fill those super tankers, those are long-term contracts, too. So they're not just going to go back to Iran. They're going to keep buying oil from us.
That's true because, I mean, supply chains, as we learned during COVID, supply chains are very what we call sticky in economics, meaning when you change them, it's costly and it's difficult to shift back. So many of these will be long-term customers of the U.S. And also, I think they want the relatively, more easy shipping and the relatively more high-profile dealing with the U.S. than with some of those other nations. So, yeah, I have a feeling that this is going to cause some changes that aren't going to disappear in 2 or 5 or 12 months.
Yeah, and John, let's talk about the details of, look, they haven't signed the deal yet, but it seems positive. Iran said, okay, we'll not do this nuclear thing anymore. We're not going to pursue that, which was the #1 goal because they would have used it. There's talks of partnerships, trade routes, lifting sanctions on different countries and things like that, but also it's potentially standing down on 7 Iranian proxies from funding them, the Houthis and all these things. This could be an entirely different Middle East going forward.
Yeah, this will remake actually the world because the Persian Gulf, if we do this, will essentially in many ways become, but not always, become an American lake. This is a huge problem for the Chinese because we'll be setting aside all of their trade routes for energy in and out of the Persian Gulf and to Africa through the Indian Ocean, the Straits of Malacca, and China can't project force that far. And China's also losing their leverage with regard to rare earths. This is a reorienting of the world order, and it's going to give us enormous diplomatic leverage and leverage on trade deals with other countries too.
Peter, the big thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, a lot of people don't even know about, is that we're now trading more oil on the U.S. dollar, not BRICS, not the yuan, not anything else, not whatever Russia trades stuff on. The U.S. dollar has been pumping.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in recent years about de-dollarization, nations moving away from the use of the dollar, that sort of thing. And I do think that there's a bit of that happening, but it's so slow. and it's so incremental. And there are so many ways in which we can get it back. I don't think it's a realistic concern at all. There's a reason why nobody uses anything else, and that's because there's no other alternative. The only other possible alternative would be gold, and that would be way more difficult. So, I mean, the dollar is here to stay. It's the center of gravity of global finance, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, well, and we know the last person who tried to make a gold-backed industry was Gaddafi, and then they blew up his convoy. So what do you know about that? John, Peter, we appreciate it very much.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, it's greener pastures. No, I'm not going anywhere except to my farm this weekend for the maiden mow, baby. Yes, a couple of guys who are experts in maintaining a healthy and beautiful lawn going to join me next.
I was really afraid.
Of what?
Of you?
Marlena Dietrich, Mae West, Rita Hayworth, and more. Fearless pioneers of the screen. Angelic, tough, sexy, in control. They broke the rules and paved the way. Watch Starlets, the ladies who made Hollywood.
If your dog struggles with stiff joints, low energy, messy poops, or an itchy coat, the cause might be sitting in your dog's food bowl right now. Kibble. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete, gently air dried, packed with real canine superfoods to help your dog unlock puppy-like energy, smoother digestion, healthier joints, shinier coats, and more. Thousands have already made the switch. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
Hello, this is WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Mick Foley. Across this great country, there are thousands of veterans with no place to call home. They deserve better.
Welcome to my new home.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is committed to eradicating veteran homelessness by providing housing and critical services.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
Please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being a million miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Millions of Americans rely on a statin to reduce cholesterol, but statins can deplete CoQ10 levels. I recommend Cunol CoQ10 with 3 times better absorption and the #1 cardiologist recommended form. It helps replenish what statins deplete. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Okay, this weekend, one of my favorite on the calendar. No, it's not a new hunting season. That's like also another one of my favorites. It's time for the annual maiden mow. The first weekend, I hop on my bad boy 60-inch zero-turn mower with a fresh tank of gas and an oil change, set out to cut my 2 acres of lawn up at my farm. A little bit of heat, smell of fresh cut grass, and the satisfaction you feel when overlooking a well-manicured pasture, something deeply ingrained in mankind, unless you're a communist. I don't know. And this weekend, I set out on a months-long journey to fulfill that satisfaction. And the two guys we had around the same time last year who know how to obtain lawn euphoria, so much so that they launched a podcast to geek out over lawn care. Host of Turf Nerds podcast, Evan Lindman and Greg Durbin. Greg, good to have you guys back. First things first, people getting the new lawn. I realize water. What fertilizer? What are they doing?
So a couple things for your lawn here is a soil test there, Carl, big time. Check with your local state extension here. That way you can know what nutrients your lawn need to really feed your lawn. I mean, we talk about water, but really the proper way is to water at 4 a.m. Don't water during the day. You're going to waste your money, time. 4 a.m. is your absorption time. And number 3, to really make that lawn pop, Greg and I, we're big on this, is the lawn core aerations. I have a Z Aerate 24-inch stand-on aerator. And why do we aerate? Big thing. It relieves the soil compaction on your lawn, allowing your lawn to breathe. Remember those double masks, Carl? We want to be able to breathe. I want to breathe. Greg wants to breathe, and so does your lawn. That's what I got for that.
Greg, is it all right? So I've got settings down to putting green to 4.5 inches. Where do you do your first mow? That's probably 6-8 inches right now.
Well, that's a great question. Two things are really important about your lawn is you don't want to cut more than 1/3 of your grass off at any time. So because it's going to create disease potentially for your lawn, it's going to create stress on your lawn. So you don't want to cut off more than 1/3 at a time. You can cut 1/3 off, and then 5 days later go back and cut another 1/3 if you're at around 6 or 8 inches or so. So that's really important. The second thing for you, though, is I heard you say it, though, the putting green. Michigan State Extension, we talk about the extension programs. Michigan State University's extension program recommends 3.5 to 4 inches on your lawn. The reason, again, is for disease. Also, it's going to help you with your roots and your turf toughness. So I'll give you a great example. I had a lawn. One of my clients wanted me to cut it at 3 1/4. They had a shady lawn, wasn't really doing well. I finally went back to them and said, look, we need to do a 4-inch cut on your lawn. I started doing it. They wanted me to do it at about 4 inches. I did it for about 2 months. Their lawn looks great now, and it's a lot tougher. The root system's much better.
Evan, I have these effing dandelions that pop up everywhere. What do I do about these things?
Oh, those dandelions. The basic thing is your just traditional weed and feed here. Easier said than done. Had several clients. My dad and I, when he helped me launch my lawn care business back in the day, shout out to my father, the traditional weed and feed works. You can pick it up at any store. Might want to pick it up at more of a contracting store, like some of the like stuff that you can find at the hardware stores. Not always the greatest, but the traditional weed and feed. Greg and I cut several lawns with dandelions, and we got to go through doubles and triple cuts with them, but the weed and feed will get the job done with that.
All right, so last question here, Greg. You go through all this stuff. People are probably just excited. Like, I really actually nerd out over the lawn. I really enjoy it. But you go through all this stuff. A lot of people are getting like halfway through the year and they're like, I can't. I mean, it took me 5 years to get my lawn looking like that. And like, I maintain it myself. You get halfway through the season, it looks like crap. It's burnt out. It's done all these things. What do you start telling people?
Well, it goes back to what I answered before. It's when you start hitting July, August, it's hot. That's where the 4 inches cuts are going to be really beneficial.
So longer in the hot weather.
Oh yeah, definitely. I cut lawns. I've got a lawn that right next door to me. The guy's coming in. He's cutting it at about 3 inches. His lawns are brown. My lawns are green because I'm cutting them higher. You take care of it. Water in the morning, like Evan said. 4 a.m. is the most important time to water because it's getting down into the soil. You're not wasting a lot of evaporation. You don't get a lot of that evaporation. That's really important for you.
There you go. All right. Evan, Greg, the Turf Nerds, your podcast is actually great. I subscribe. All right, guys. Appreciate you coming on to entertain my nerdiness about lawns.
Appreciate you, Carl.
Appreciate
Thank
it, Carl.
you.
And I agree with the 3 people.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Coming up, Gavin Newsom, supposedly dyslexic, but his super PAC just dropped a boatload of money on his book by his favorite author. Wait until you hear who it is. Got that in Culture Clash next.
My cell phone bill kept going up. I started looking around, what are our other options? With Consumer Cellular, I'm saving over $50 a month. Same coverage, same data, same talk, same cell phone, simple.
So why am I paying way more for a big wireless plan? What am I getting for my money?
Consumer Cellular gives you the same fast, reliable nationwide network for up to half the cost of big wireless.
Same tower, Same coverage.
I feel like people should know that.
They cut my bill just about in half.
I'm saving almost $100 a month.
That's over $1,000 a year.
Not only did I save money, but our coverage was vastly improved. It was fantastic.
There's got to be a catch, and I'm going to find it by going straight to the CEO himself, Ed Evans. What's up, Ed?
Because we serve primarily the 50-plus market today, we know our customers are going to use a lot less data. We can then set our pricing substantially lower than what the big three are able to do on the exact same networks.
Oh, I love that.
My job is to help you save money on wireless, even if you're on an unlimited plan.
My bill with the big carriers was over $300, and with Consumer Cellular, it's about $100.
Our customers ranked us #1 in network coverage satisfaction. And there's no long-term contracts.
When I look at what I had with Verizon, I'm not sure what I was paying extra for.
And yes, you could keep your number, no problem. Want to bring your phone? That's great too. We'll have you wrapped up in about 20 minutes. Really.
We hadn't gone back. We're not going back. We're with Consumer Cellular.
Call now and see how one of our U.S.-based Switch Pros can cut your bill by up to half. That's right, up to half. And when you call right now, you'll get your second month free. Just use the code SECONDFREE. And AARP members save even more. Call 1-800-918-0560. That's 1-800-918-0560.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support with clinically studied grapeseed extract for nearly 2 times more effective blood pressure support than diet and exercise alone.
Super Beets works. I swear by it, and I know you're going to love it too.
Try Super Beets today at human.com.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Imagine being such a loser that you use campaign money to buy copies of your own book because nobody else wants to buy it. That is Gavin Newsom, probably the front runner for the presidential election in 2 years. It's unbelievable. And this was brought to light by the New York Times. The New York Times, of all people. Governor Gavin Newsom offered supporters who gave any amount a copy of his book. Roughly 67,000 donors received the memoirs. Who are the 67,000 people, accounting for roughly 2/3 of its total print sales? So stupid. It goes on. On Wednesday, new federal records revealed that Mr. Newsom's Political Action Committee paid $1.56 million to buy and distribute copies of his book through the donation program. Jeez. The fact that this accounts for 2/3 of the sales is unbelievable. Hey, check this out. The new Wake Up America weekend co-host that debuts tomorrow morning, Kyle Lowder and Kenzie Beach. All right, guys, that's what I do. I go to my donors and promise communism for millions of dollars and then buy my own book.
Instant New York Times best. Did it make the New York Times bestsellers list? I should know this. Probably, but well, that's the reason.
But when you're paying people to buy it, I was going to say, is anything this guy does doesn't surprise us anymore?
No.
Born and raised in California, and the first thing that comes
to
mind,
sorry.
Lived from in California him is if you think about the pandemic. He's telling everyone to wear masks. Kids can't go to school, and he is up in the wine country.
He's at the French Laundry,
at the French Laundry, just enjoying his life.
Well, he's better than us.
Everything we knew about health and wellness, and still know, which are facts. He closed the beaches. He closed the hiking trails, places where you could get away from people 6 feet apart. with fresh air and all of that, closed them all down.
They arrested some cat for paddleboarding without a mask in the middle of the ocean.
So
Well,
anyway.
speaking of your boy Gavin Newsom, we already knew the Dems hate America, but it's history and traditions and all that. They can't stand any of it. But now Newsom is canceling the fireworks on the 4th of July. The one thing, you just let people have their fireworks.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They did tests with this, and it apparently didn't cause any pollution whatsoever. Okay, so if this is the case, let's put it this way. This is
And
the
if
case.
it does, who cares?
Why don't we give Macy's a call and tell them not to do the 4th of July fireworks display
We
in
don't
the
want
East
to be
River?
responsible for that.
You know, I don't understand it. It's like they're looking for things to just close, shut down,
Because they
or
hate us.
yeah.
But if he really wants to make a difference, is this really what
Is this it?
is going to change something?
Yeah.
Fun police.
This has been going on for 50 years. How can people are like, why are you doing this now?
Yeah,
Everything you save the environment is your first thing that comes to mind.
This
Like
is what-
cancel 4th of July.
I know. But this is why I got a fireworks license. I will do extra in honor of California.
This
go.
story's way too long, but like the first time I met you, you had to take a call from your fireworks.
That's true. I
So
forgot about that.
increase the order, Carl, for the people of California.
And I
They
remember
will
you got on the
appreciate
phone. I was like,
you.
what was that all about? You're like, I had my fireworks license. And I was like,
I forgot you did that.
it's a first for me. And you kept going. You're like, no, the bigger one.
Yeah.
No, the bigger one.
More is more
That
with
was-
fireworks.
That was your.
It was the
welcome to
first time I met
Newsmax.
you.
We should air the stuff off air.
Oh, it was so good.
All right,
It was
Philadelphia mayor. Okay, this is Charlene Parker. Okay, marches for no kings. Doesn't like when anybody questions her on how much she thinks she should be able to tax people. Roll this.
But how dare you tell me, as mayor of this city, to tell the people in this city that we cannot and should not enact what is one of the most limited powers that we have, and that is to decide how we will drive revenue to the school district of Philadelphia.
I will question everything someone does who can't spell Eagles.
Well, listen, we've got to do this. Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
I think we just better leave that one there.
But hey, she's one. You can't question her taxing.
For your own city? That's so sad.
Yeah. Don't these people work for us? Is that the way that it always, elected officials and whatnot? I don't
Silly. This Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. We're going to let that one go.
All right, Elmo. All right, Sesame Street now going to teach kids how to speak Arabic in honor of Arab American Heritage Month, which I didn't even know was a thing. Watch this.
Mr. Brahmi, what does salam alaikum mean?
Well, salam means peace, and it's a way to say hello in Arabic.
Oh, cool. Oh, salam alaikum, everybody.
Elmo and I are here to wish all of you a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hi, I'm Big Bird, and the word of the day is jihad.
I was going to say, look, I mean, as long as he's not, saying globalize the intifada, I think that we'll be okay. I mean, it's I don't know. But
I grew up on Sesame Street.
Right.
I mean, we can't be indoctrinating our kids on this stuff.
No, Cookie Monster did not wear a turban.
Yeah, maybe start off with, you can say hello in Spanish and French and a bunch of different languages. That's great.
It just
but
seemed the timing is interesting.
Let's draw the line somewhere.
Right? Exactly. It's just let's not just be open for business. I don't know. It's just it hits wrong.
Leave some things alone.
Right? We Sesame Street. It's Americana.
Speaking of Americana, tomorrow morning, you guys start.
Yes.
First show.
Yes.
I'm pumped.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm
You
so
hosted
excited.
this show at one point, too.
I did. I helped debut the show when we first launched it. 7 years or 6 years
That's
ago?
incredible.
So we're excited to kind of take the baton. I feel like we have so many incredible shows Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of news still happens on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So we're going to kind of carry that as well and really give you your news that you need Saturday and Sunday, but also at a wake-up speed, I want to say.
Yeah,
grab your coffee, but really
your
still
mimosas,
get your heart.
your Bloody Marys, your tea, whatever you want. But yeah, it's
we got your hard-hitting stories.
we're a news network. We still have the news. We have some new segments planned. Maybe some laughs, a little levity here and there. But you're going to get what you've always gotten.
Vibes.
With some changes.
Yeah, and great interviews.
I like vibes.
Yeah.
We got some great guests lined up.
Oh,
this
guests
weekend
too.
as well.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
spoke with
guests too.
White House Board
No, it's just
Czar
us
Tom
the entire
Homan.
time.
People want to hear from People like to.
Yeah.
All right,
We're
Kyle,
excited.
Kenzie, good luck. I'll be watching tomorrow.
Thanks for having us.
You guys
Carl.
should too if you love America.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Coming up, more Americans are starting to question about what they've been told about vaccine safety. I never got the vaccine and questioned it the whole damn time. And the gap between trust and doubt growing even more. Next.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's taking forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
I'm hearing more and more about people in their early 40s, 30s, even 20s being diagnosed with this disease at an advanced stage. There's 17 cancers. 17 cancers are increasing among people under 50. So what the is going on?
Katie Couric is back and clutching her pearls over 17 new types of cancers exploding in people under 50. Young adults in their 20s with stage 4 tumors, 30-something already metastatic. Then the experts are baffled. She rattled off the unusual, or the usual suspects, I should say. Junk food, microplastics, forever chemicals, even like the environment. Except one. The vaccine. A medical experiment shot that was pumped into billions of arms for 5 years straight. And somehow she doesn't want to bring that up? But sure, Katie, go ahead and blame everything except for the obvious. The experts are baffled or just conveniently clueless. Chief Scientific Officer at the wellness company, who was right about this all along, by the way, Dr. Peter McCullough. Sir, it's baffling.
Yeah, her concerns are justified, but I have to tell you, the biggest change in the health of Americans over the last 6 years has been the pandemic, both the viral infection, SARS-CoV-2, and the COVID-19 vaccines. And 81% of Americans took a vaccine. 94% of them took a genetic vaccine with either Pfizer or Moderna. Now the reports are pouring in that indeed the vaccines, it looks like they promote cancer.
That is such an insane thing that look, I resisted this at all accounts. I said, nope, I'm not doing it. You can hold a gun to my head all you want. And I said no. And everybody asked me, they're like, well, how'd you not get the vaccine? I was like, I just said no. Like, it was that simple.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't take it. They were not safe enough. And, you know, we knew early in the first few months there were large numbers of people dying shortly after the vaccine. And, you know, as we sit here today, those who did not take the vaccine in many ways dodged a bullet. However, both the infection and the vaccine contribute the spike protein, this protein on the surface of the virus. The protein itself may lower our defenses against cancer.
Wow. I mean, that is crazy to me. The other thing, too, is what this did to damage our health institution. Politico put out a new poll that shows that the vaccine appears to have turned many Americans against vaccines and our institutions as well. The problem with this is, like, let's say, God forbid, there is a real pandemic, not the flu. People are going to be like, no, screw you, I don't believe you. And then people really will die.
Well, you know, vaccines aren't a solution for a pandemic because once a viral infection is too widely prevalent, it'll just outsmart any vaccine. The response is really risk stratification and early treatment. So vaccines really shouldn't be featured in pandemics. Right. However, the great debacle of the COVID vaccine program has basically caused loss of confidence and erosion of trust in all the routine childhood vaccines.
Yeah, but here's the thing is they wanted this untested, completely unknown thing with no long-term testing, no even short-term testing. They wanted that. But then you've got 83-year-old Purple People Eater Democrat Rosa DeLauro, who's the congressman. She says, you can't drink. Watch this real quick.
If I were the head of HHS, I would, by God, say, don't take raw milk. It is dangerous to your health. And if you can't say that, well, maybe there's some other conclusions that can be drawn.
I drink raw milk whenever I can, and I am generally pretty fine.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Carl, to be honest, I wouldn't dye my hair purple, but I wouldn't drink raw milk either.
Really?
Now, if you're on a farm like you and you have access and you have clean collection and refrigeration and you consume it right away,
which I do.
That's where you can get away with this. The problem is, in Texas heat, it spoils within about an hour. And there have been outbreaks of, Salmonella, E. coli, serious infections. So I think there should be strict regulations around it. And there are some theoretical benefits. There are two analyses suggesting if, children get exposed to this early, they have lower rates of allergic diseases.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everybody is allergic to absolutely everything these days. That to me, could that be a nurture versus nature thing?
It could be. There is this hygiene hypothesis that if we actually got exposed to more dirt and farm animals, maybe raw milk and others, we wouldn't be so allergic. It's, those growing up in the sterile environment, they don't get that early antigenic exposure. There's also a great concern that excessive childhood vaccination is leading to all of these food allergies and other allergic diseases.
Touch grass, be in nature. What a noble concept. Dr. Peter McCullough, appreciate it as always, sir.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, Trump's big, beautiful bill saved Americans big bucks this year. We hit the streets to make sure it was right.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
It's April, time for digital spring cleaning.
I shall purge the clutter!
Whoa, use PCmatic. Our whitelist technology automatically cleans out malware and junk files without...
Delete the cookies. Delete!
Without breaking the computer. Get PCmatic. We clean the smart way. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies.
Visit PCmatic.com today.
Life with ear ringing sounded like a constant train whistle I couldn't escape. Then I started taking lipoflavonoid. With 60 years of clinical experience, it's the #1 doctor-recommended brand for ear ringing, and now I'm finally free. Take back control with lipoflavonoid.
The crisis inside Ukraine has reached a catastrophic level, with the elderly Jews pushed to the very limit.
Go inside. She's freezing cold. There's no electricity, no heat, no water. Winter is now a weapon of war, used against the elderly, the mothers, and the young children.
They've been lined up here for hours. These are precious people who are hungry, and they have nothing. If someone doesn't do something soon, a humanitarian disaster is coming. So many Jewish people who are just waiting for someone to care enough to pick up the phone.
Fears are growing that without an emergency, full-scale response, thousands will die this winter.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews needs your $25 gift now to help rush a winter survival food box of emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact, thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
They've felt the shaking of missiles. These are people who have already endured so much suffering and disaster, taking out power, taking out water, simple water to drink. We're talking about the difference between life or death. Christian, Jew, standing shoulder to shoulder, saying, we're here to heal, we're here to help.
Your gift of only $25 helps rush a winter survival food box filled with life-saving emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Thanks to a special matching challenge, if you call now, your gift's impact will be doubled. Time is critical. Please give now.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Tax day, if you remember, we told you how much you're getting destroyed by the government. So we hit the streets to find out if the big, beautiful bill was giving them a little bit more money in their pocket this year.
Oh, yeah, I got a lot of money.
Very happy. I think the laws were changed back to prior years. I'm a homeowner, so it was Trump who changed the law.
Yes! Mr. Trump! We love you!
I was good, but I live in New Jersey. Only saved you this year was the overtime tax.
I did get a better refund. Well, I owed less than last year.
Depends. Federally, probably. Not so sure locally, yeah.
Locally, I think they could do better.
No, they don't use our money properly. We all know they waste it and it's fraud.
I do. There is a lot of fraud out there. I know it becomes a tagline now.
So much money. I owed like $11 million. I love Newsmax. I love Newsmax. I love that 8 o'clock show on Newsmax. I think it's called Flaherty, Flappy, Finnerty. That guy is talented, handsome, smart, and talented.
Oh, Schmidt, he didn't mention any of us in that about how talented we were.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. I said, is that Finnerty? Wow, how did they catch him doing that right outside of the building? I don't know how they found him.
They got him when he was coming in at like noon.
Yeah, there you go. 2.
All right, Rob.
Good to see you, Carl. Have a good weekend.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.